Valley News Live and Gate City Bank present the Bison Football Show with head coach Chris Kleiman.
The Montana State Bobcats are coming to Fargo for the second round of the FCS playoffs. 2 weeks ago right here, they celebrated a third straight win over rival Montana. Yesterday, they recorded their first playoff win since 2012. 4 straight wins coming in for the Bobcats. We're going to talk about it, and joining me on set is head Bison coach Chris Kleiman. And Coach, first, before we get to the Bobcats, how was Thanksgiving?
It was great. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Hopefully they had a great time with family and friends. We kind of did the same thing. We practiced on Wednesday because our kids had classes on Wednesday, and then gave them Thursday, Friday, and most of Saturday off. And then we had a pretty good workout last night in the bubble. Had our first real practice with regards to working on Montana State, so it was a good week.
How about the guys? Was the mental break good for them, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can get away from the grind for 3 days, I think that's really important. And then, getting the extra treatment and not having the wear and tear on your body. Because, you could play 10 straight games, and it takes a toll on you. So our guys were, I think, really glad for the physical and mental break.
Well, when we talk about Montana State, it's all about Troy Anderson, their quarterback. He's a fantastic football player. Little background on him. They did not have a quarterback coming into fall camp. They had 2 freshmen. They had a transfer. The starter from last year was ruled academically ineligible, so they took their best football player, moved him to quarterback. He's had a pretty good year. He's rushed for 1,200 yards. Let's look at some plays from Troy Anderson, the kid from Dillon, Montana, and we're going to actually look at the score first. 35-14 was the score. Montana State beat Incarnate Word 35-14. You see the numbers there, 513 on offense. Anderson was 12 of 19, 21 carries, 84 yards. Here's Jeff Choate after the game.
We got a lot of playmakers on this team, and a lot of them are young guys, and so we're excited about keeping these seniors rolling, and it should be a great opportunity for us to go play a great program like North Dakota State. They believe, that's what it's all about. He's kind of been working towards some of these breakthrough wins. Getting to the playoffs and then getting our first win since 2012 in this tournament is a huge step for our program and our university, and we're excited to be able to do it.
Well, it's their first playoff win since 2012, and they did it in the cold weather in Bozeman yesterday. Played pretty well, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did. I thought the quarterback was really efficient. He had some big plays in the passing game, and he's such a physical runner that, if it's 3rd and 6, there's no telling they're going to throw the football. Yeah. They may just put it in his hands and run the football, and that's what they did. And he's a very impressive player, really good athlete, strong player. Would remind a lot of our people around here of the Strebler kid from USD, because he's a big-bodied 6'2", 6'3", 225-pound kid that is an exceptional football player.
He was freshman of the year in the Big Sky last year. Let's roll some highlights from him. Look at what this kid brings to the table. Big, tall, fast. He's powerful. You see this run here against Eastern Washington.
Yeah, you can't arm tackle him. He runs through contact, and a lot of design runs for him, as well as he'll scramble on some passing situations, but true design runs for him. And then they obviously run the read zone option that everybody's doing now, but he runs what we would call quarterback power and quarterback counter and just waiting for his blocks. And then there's some of the RPO game as well, where he throws the ball a lot better than what you'd think for somebody that wasn't really a quarterback coming in. And I think the more snaps that he's received throughout the year, the more comfortable he is. And you can see right there, he's just jumping over people. He's running through people. And I know Coach Mess knows him a little bit from Coach's time at Montana State, how fast he really is. He's deceptively fast. this kid is a 100 and 200-meter guy that will have really good speed.
And you notice a lot about his run plays there. A lot of them are big plays, big chunks, 50, 60-yard runs, and that shows you a little speed there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you also see the young man get hit and hit and hit and keep coming back, and that's a sign of a really tough player mentally and physically. And so really impressed with him.
1,283 yards rushing, 7 yards a carry, 20 touchdowns rushing the football this year. That is a single season Montana State record for rushing the football as far as touchdowns go from the quarterback spot. Also, he does a little bit more than run the ball. He can throw it a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit. He throws it to a couple of different receivers. We'll see some of those plays here. He's more than a running quarterback. He knows the offense well.
Yeah, he does. He throws the ball really well, and he threw a couple of deep balls yesterday, and they run the RPO stuff where if you're going to put everybody in the box, which you need to make sure you can put enough guys in the box, he's going to, you know, throw the RPO game and throw some hitches and stuff. But I know they had a couple post routes that they hit yesterday, and I think he's a really capable thrower.
Yeah, no doubt. Travis Johnson, seen right here, he was the transfer quarterback. They've put him out at receiver. He's an athlete now, and those two have good chemistry.
Yeah, they really do. And he throws the deep ball with really good accuracy, and you saw that in a couple plays before. And they're not afraid to take their shots vertically, which you have to do if you're going to run your quarterback as much as they do. You have to try to, you know, get the defense to back off a little bit and take some vertical shots. So, you know, you think, boy, your corners aren't going to be challenged. Our corners have to play the best game of their season because they're going to be on an island an awful lot.
Yeah, they changed their offensive coordinator 5 games ago. They're 4-1 with the new offensive coordinator, Matt Miller. And Anderson only has 1 interception. We're going to look at some defense now, though. They had a big goal line stand right here against Montana. Their front four is pretty good.
Really good. That got him in the playoffs right there, that goal line stand. And I thought they're really opportunistic. You saw yesterday they stripped the football out. They're ball hawking. They do a good job sacking the quarterback, putting pressure on people. And they're going to blitz you and make you make mistakes like you saw there with against Western Illinois. They're really opportunistic, and something we have to do a really good job of what we have done all season, and that's taking care of the football.
They're kind of beat up in the back end, but 18 right there is a good player. Braden Conkle. They did create some turnovers, but it's all about their front seven. Their back end is a little beat up, isn't it?
Yeah, and their front seven's really good. There's a defensive tackle, a nose guard in there. I'm not sure what his name is, but I thought he was a real electric player, real dynamite player, and he's the one that really made the play against Montana that allowed them to keep playing.
Yep, Tucker Yates, number 92 is his name, from Colstrip, Montana. And we take a look at their team profile, and Coach, this team, I think, has caught a little bit of fire at the end here, but you look at their losses. They did have a tough schedule. Troy Anderson did not play in the South Dakota State game, but you look at their losses. Eastern Washington playoff team, Weber State a playoff team. Idaho State was on the cusp of the playoffs, and that was the first game with the new offensive coordinator. So they beat the teams they should and did play a tough schedule, didn't they? Yeah, and like you said, the South Dakota State game, the quarterback didn't play, and I look at the last one in October, and we always talk about remember November and what do you do in November. They're a hot football team right now. At Weber State's a tough game to beat those guys at their place, and you know, once again, you can throw all those things out. They're playing well right now, and they have an opportunity to keep their season alive. Yeah, Weber State, who was the 2 seed in the bracket, that was a 24-24 game in the 4th quarter on the road at Weber State right there. Their head coach is Jeff Choate. What do you know about this guy? I visited with him one time, and that's when I called to say, can Courtney Messingham come be a Bison? So Courtney speaks the world of him. He's a defensive guy, came from Washington, and really have a lot of respect for Jeff. Looking forward to meeting him, and he's done a great job there. And you know, I think he's gone undefeated against Montana, right? Which is 3-0. Which is that'll get you a contract extension in a real hurry. Which is a big deal, and I think you can tell the team takes on the mentality of their coach. He's a tough-minded. Special teams are big. They block a punt. Defense is big, and I think he's done a terrific job there. Yeah, and he's brought some drop-downs from Washington. Bryce Stirk, the defensive end, is a fantastic player. Had big numbers in TFLs and sacks this year. I wanted to ask you, too, about Courtney Messingham. So before he came here, he was at Montana State, so he probably knows a thing or two about some of their personnel. Yeah, I think he knows quite a bit about a lot of their players and obviously some of their scheme and stuff. But, you know, a lot of things have changed and stuff. So and there's little things personnel-wise probably more than anything. But I know they changed offensive coordinators midway through the season. I don't know if the scheme has changed drastically over the last 6-7 weeks, but you know, I'm sure a lot of their kids are saying, "Hey, this coach left us. Let's go prove a point." I get that. That's part of the landscape of coaching in college football right now. But we have to focus on what we can control, and that's making sure that our preparation is extremely good over the next 7 days. It's going to be fun. Montana State coming into the Fargo Dome. We've played them twice in the Division I era, 05 and 10. Both those games were in Bozeman, so it will be interesting. Before we get to all that and the rest of the show, on the Gate City Bank hot seat, Aaron Steidel. Aaron, what teammate do you relate the best to?
I got to say Colin Connor. Me and him just kind of hang out a lot, go hunting together, and just kind of, you know, equal personalities.
Excellent. Your favorite member of the Bison coaching staff?
Coach Kramer. Got a lot of respect for him.
Okay. What sport did you try as a child that you failed at?
I tried soccer. Not my forte.
What was your favorite Halloween costume?
I never really got real creative with Halloween costumes, but the one I did thing that was kind of creative was I was like a vampire hunter. So I wore orange, put some blood on my face and some teeth, and that's what it was.
You probably had some hunter orange to go around,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yep. What did you get in the most trouble for with your parents?
I never was I wasn't a goody two-shoes, but I wasn't in trouble, but I always was late for curfew.
Okay. If you could be best friends with a celebrity, who would that be?
Jennifer Aniston.
Okay.
You ever seen
That's
Friends?
a good one.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. What is the most expensive thing you would buy if you had unlimited money?
I'd probably buy a bunch of hunting land, probably 1,000 acres of my own, manage it myself. And
where would it be at, though?
Ooh, that's tough. Maybe out by Montana or out in Colorado, depending on what kind of hunting you want to do.
There you go. Best summer job you've ever had?
I worked for a tree service for my cousin for a couple of years, and good pay, hard work, but it was probably one of my strongest summers I ever gotten. So,
worst food you've ever tasted?
Lutefisk.
Welcome back. In this segment, I will talk brackets with Alex Egan of NBC North Dakota. First, though, let's take a look at some attendance numbers from round one, or the Thanksgiving round, as I like to call it. The numbers were way up this year. The NCAA had some prime hosts in this round. You see Jacksonville State, who typically isn't on Thanksgiving, hasn't been of late. Their fans still showed up. Montana State had a great crowd. You talk about the weather, no students. They still drew 10,000. We did not have one crowd over 10,000 on the Thanksgiving round last year. Then you see 8, 7, 5, 4, some tough ones in the heavy rain at Towson. But you see the total there, 50,985. And as we move forward, you compare the last 3 years, big bump up for the NCAA. 2016, 27,000 on Thanksgiving weekend. 2017, 39,000. And you see with Montana State, James Madison, and Jacksonville State, teams who have good fan bases, big, big bump up. I found that very, very interesting. 50,985 was a big number for the NCAA on Thanksgiving weekend. Well, Coach has stepped out because we can't have him talking about the brackets, so Alex Egan stepped on set here with me, and we're going to walk through this thing a little bit, go through some of the scores, set the stage for round two, which should be very, very interesting. And as we look at the first set of scores here, it's the NDSU pod. It's the Montana State Incarnate Word game. We talked a lot about that, 35-14. Now Montana State comes to the Fargo Dome. James Madison, 20-6 over Delaware. That was a conference game for James Madison. They didn't play during the year, but an impressive defensive showing by James Madison. They did not allow an offensive touchdown there for Delaware. Now James Madison goes to Colgate. What do you think of this little pod, Alex?
Well, I think what was interesting was I was able to watch a lot of the Montana State Incarnate Word game, and I am impressed by Troy Anderson and what he's able to bring to the offense for the Bobcats. But what got me was James Madison. I was not impressed with what I saw from them offensively. I think Ben DiNucci, he might have had an off game. I haven't watched too much James Madison, but I wasn't impressed by what I saw against Delaware. Again, Delaware is not a bad team. That's a good CAA matchup. There is the familiarity there, but I wasn't too thrilled with what I saw out of the quarterback play for James Madison. If Delaware would have had any offense there, it would have been okay, but they go to Colgate. Colgate's got a great defense, so DiNucci's going to have his hands full again. Colgate didn't allow a touchdown in 7 games this year, 7 straight games basically from the beginning of September to November. So that's going to be a tough struggle for DiNucci and that Duke's offense going to Colgate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. James Madison's defense, very impressive, though. They only beat them 20-13 last year, so there is a familiarity thing there when you put two conference teams together. Now we move forward. Look at the other part of the NDSU side of the bracket. Towson, Duquesne beats Towson 31-10. That's a little bit of a surprise from the NEC. However, it was pouring down rain. Towson's number one thing is throwing the football. Hard to throw the football when you're getting fire hosed by rain, and it was really bad. So now Duquesne goes to South Dakota State. Those two played last year in the non-conference in game 1. Wofford 19-7 over Elon. Elon all banged up. 10 starters were out, including their quarterback and running back. They were a mash unit. Could not stop that Wofford option. Now Wofford goes to Kennesaw. That is 2 option teams. That game might take an hour.
An hour. There might be 100 passing yards total in that game, and it might all come from one play. But we go back to Duquesne heading to South Dakota State. The Jacks beat Duquesne in 2017. It was a 51-13 game, first game of the season. Jake Winicky had 4 receiving touchdowns in that game. Well, Jake Winicky no longer plays for the Jacks, so this could be a different game. You can't really look at that. But Duquesne's only losses this year to FBS, UMass, and Hawaii, and then they lost to Bryant 2 weeks after playing Hawaii, which I think there's probably still a little bit of travel hangover there. They trailed Towson 10-0 in this game before scoring 31 straight. They're a balanced team. They like to run the football. They pass the football pretty equally. You go to this Kennesaw State Wofford game. This is going to be interesting, and I think
run and run some more.
Yeah, that's a couple option teams. I think what's interesting is a lot of people talked about how James Madison might have been slighted by the committee not getting a seed. I think Kennesaw State might be slighted by only getting a 4 seed. This was a team that was ranked number 2 in most of the polls all season. So that's going to be a very interesting game between those two option teams.
Yeah, the bottom part of the bracket now. Southeast Missouri beat Stony Brook 28-14, and it was just a horrendous day for the CAA. The Colonial had a tough day. Stony Brook on the road loses, so now SEMO goes to Weber State, the 2 seed. Very tough draw for SEMO there. Jacksonville State hangs on. In fact, they were down 20-10 at halftime. And they do rally in the second half, 34-27. Jacksonville State heads up north to cold country. Jacksonville State, a warm weather team. Might be a little chilly up in Maine. We'll see what happens there.
So Southeast Missouri State in their game over Stony Brook, they didn't have a scoring drive over 40 yards in that game. So they had short fields to work with when they beat Stony Brook. They have losses to FBS Arkansas State, at Eastern Kentucky, and at Murray State. So that's a pretty interesting reason that they got into the field, and they're going to go play a tough defense in Weber State in the second round. And Weber State, obviously, Big Sky champion. They have the win over Eastern Washington, held them without a touchdown. So it's going to be an interesting one there. In Maine, the CAA champs only getting a 7 seed, and there's 6 CAA teams in. You know, we talked about that a little bit, but this Maine team, who knows what you're going to see out of them, especially the weather could be an issue. And we've seen with Jacksonville State, if the weather's an issue, especially down in Frisco when they were playing NDSU, that was not favorable for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, maybe Maine can crank up a blizzard there. As we move forward to the last set of games here on Thanksgiving, the Toreros could not pull off Thanksgiving magic 3 years in a row. They'd won 2 consecutive Thanksgiving weekend games. Could not do it this year. Nichols State, very impressive offensively, 49-30. Northern Iowa, boy, they probably should have lost this game. Lamar missed 2 field goals, had 2 turnovers in the red zone. Northern Iowa squeaks out a 16-13 win. UNI goes to Davis. Now Nichols goes up to Eastern Washington. Those are a couple of interesting games, especially UNI Davis.
Yeah, UNI Davis is going to be a very interesting one. We've seen what UNI has in terms of defensively. Davis throws the football around. They've got 10 guys with double-digit catches on their offense. And just for reference, NDSU has 4 guys with double-digit catches. So that's going to be an interesting one. How will Northern Iowa's, Nichols State's offense, Northern Iowa, their defense respond to UC Davis's offense, and then Eastern Washington. I think they're rolling right now. Eastern is going to be a tough customer. I've picked them to go all the way to Frisco.
Yeah, of all the seeded teams, Colgate probably has the toughest second-round game with James Madison. That should be a fantastic game. You could make an argument that the Bison have the second toughest second-round game with Montana State, who certainly is red hot right now and playing good football. Thanks for the bracket breakdown. We appreciate your time, Alex. We can see Alex on the pregame show throughout the playoffs on NBC North Dakota. We'll have more of the Bison Football Show in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. It was a big week for Easton Stick. He was named Offensive Player of the Year in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Congratulations there. Just adds to the resume. His career has been outstanding. Alex Egan walks us through the career of Easton Stick.
5 years ago, Easton Stick stepped foot on North Dakota State's campus, and there weren't very many people who knew he would have the career he's had.
Well, I saw a guy with real good athletic ability, had ability to make plays in the open field and throw the ball to the field.
Not even Easton thought he would be in this position when his career at NDSU is all said and done.
You know, no, that's such a, no, you don't. And it's just something you come in here and you're just swimming in it, and you want to learn, you know, how can I just be a part of this? How can I belong and just find a role on this team?
Stick has planted his name in the NDSU record book, something his predecessor never got the chance to. Fair or unfair, Easton Stick will always be compared to Carson Wentz, and he's done everything he can to make his own name, becoming one of the top quarterbacks to have ever worn a Bison uniform.
I think he's embraced it. I think he knows it's a challenge for him to get to that level. He's extremely good friends with Carson, and I think Carson challenges him. He wants to get to that level, and that's important to him.
Stick, of course, has had many mentors during his time at NDSU.
Yeah, I could go on forever. Obviously, Coach Kleiman would be one, Coach Hedberg would be one, Coach Riley, there's so many guys. Carson obviously had a huge impact. Guys like Chase Morlock, Cole Davis is somebody that You know, I could go on and on about the type of person he is and the friend he is to me. Shoot, there's a really, really long list. There's some unbelievable people here.
But it's been his drive, his attention to detail, which quarterbacks coach Randy Hedberg says has improved the most, putting Stick in the position he's in.
If the route is run to be designed to run for 12 yards, he wants a receiver to run to 12 yards because that's where he's going to throw the ball. And those things are really important to him. He wants to know the splits of where the receivers are going to be so he can throw the spots, and I think that's really important to him. He's very detailed, and he wants that within our program.
For the Bison Football Show, I'm Alex Egan.
Again, congratulations to Easton Stick, the Missouri Valley Football Conference Offensive Player of the Year. That is a tremendous honor for a great, great kid. Well, quarterback is a big position, so is center. The Bison are grooming a young kid to be a true center. Joe Schreiber out of Eden Prairie came in the last recruiting class. The offensive line room has a lot of young talent. It's a position that always reloads at NDSU. The Rams are a huge part of the tradition of Bison football. Joe's father was a basketball player at Division I Marist. Joe played basketball himself in high school. Eden Prairie is a legendary football program that wins a lot of football, and that is a big reason why Joe Schreiber was attracted to NDSU.
That was one of the things that stuck out to me about NDSU, is just how similar of a program it was to Eden Prairie, just with the success we've had here. And so, you know, I think it would be tough to be going from a school that wins a lot of games in high school to going to a program that doesn't win very many games. I think that'd be a hard transition, but just how similar this program was perfect.
The Bison rotate their offensive line around a lot, moving tackles to guards, guards into center, but Joe Schreiber could be that center, that true center in this recruiting class moving forward. So look for his name as early as next year in that Bison 2-deep. Joe Schreiber from legendary football program Eden Prairie. Well, the Montana State Bobcats are coming to the Fargo Dome. The Bison played them in 05 and 10. Both those games were in Bozeman. They were supposed to come back, bought out of the buyback game or the comeback game. So this is their first trip to the Fargo Dome, and it's in the second round of the FCS playoffs. We'll talk more about it. Stay with us. The Bison and the Bobcats, 2 o'clock at the Fargo Dome this coming Saturday. Should be an outstanding second-round game. That's our Verizon look ahead, NDSU and Montana State. The Bison are undefeated heading into the bracket. Should be a fun week. Enjoy it, everyone. We'll see you next week.